Charlie Chaplin's story does not begin with bright lights or laughter. It begins with cold streets, empty rooms, and a small boy who learned very early what it meant to feel alone. Long before the world knew his funny walk or his quiet smile, Charlie was just a child trying to survive in a hard city. London was loud, crowded, and often cruel. Smoke filled the air. People hurried past each other. Poor families lived close together in small rooms, and hunger was something many children understood. Charlie was born into this world with very little. His parents were performers, but their lives were unstable. His father struggled with alcohol and disappeared from Charlie's life when he was still very young. His mother, Hannah, tried her best to care for her children. She sang on stage and dreamed of success, but life did not follow her dreams. Some nights, Charlie and his brother went to bed hungry. Other nights, they did not know where they would sleep. Their home changed often. Sometimes it was a small room. Sometimes it was a place meant for the poor, where many families stayed together and shared almost nothing. Charlie watched his mother carefully. He saw her smile on stage and cry at home. He learned early that laughter and pain could live side by side. This lesson would stay with him forever. When Charlie was still very young, his mother became ill. Her voice failed her, and she could no longer perform. Without work, life became even harder. There were days when food was scarce and hope felt distant. Charlie and his brother were sometimes sent away to places meant for children with no home. These places were strict and cold. The days were long. The rules were harsh, but even in those places, Charlie noticed people. He watched how they walked, how they talked, how they expressed sadness and joy. He remembered everything. Charlie was small and thin, but his mind was always moving. He loved watching people on the streets. A tired worker. A proud gentleman. A sad old man. He saw stories in their faces. Without knowing it, he was learning how to tell stories without words. One day, Charlie's life changed in a small but important way. His mother lost her voice while performing on stage. The audience became restless. People whispered. Some laughed. Then a young Charlie was pushed onto the stage. He was scared. His heart beat fast. But he sang. His voice was clear and sweet. The audience listened. They smiled. They clapped. That moment planted a seed inside him. Charlie learned that even in fear, he could make people feel something. He could make them listen. He could make them care. As he grew older, Charlie joined traveling performance groups. The work was not easy. The pay was small. The travel was tiring. But it was better than the streets. On stage, Charlie felt alive. He learned timing. He learned movement. He learned how to hold attention without saying much. He watched older performers closely. He copied their movements. Then he changed them. He added his own ideas. He was curious. He was serious about learning. Even though he was still just a boy, a life outside the stage was still hard. There were nights of doubt. Days when nothing seemed certain. Charlie never forgot hunger. He never forgot the fear of losing everything. Those memories shaped him. They taught him compassion. They taught him empathy. They taught him to see the dignity in people who had nothing. Eventually, Charlie traveled far from London. He crossed the ocean to America. He arrived with little money and big dreams. America was exciting and strange. The cities were growing fast. The film industry was new and full of opportunity. At first, Charlie was just another performer trying to find his place. Silent films were becoming popular. Actors did not need strong voices. They needed strong expressions. They needed to move people without words. Charlie understood this world perfectly. He created a character who looked poor but carried himself with pride. A small man with worn clothes, a funny walk, and kind eyes. This character was not loud. He was gentle. He was hopeful. Audiences loved him. They laughed at his clumsy steps. They smiled at his clever tricks. But more than that, they felt him. They saw themselves in him. They saw struggle. They saw hope. Charlie had turned his pain into art. Behind the scenes, he worked harder than anyone. He cared deeply about every detail. The way he walked. The way he paused. The way a moment felt. He believed comedy was serious work. Every laugh mattered. As his fame grew, Charlie did not forget where he came from. He remembered the cold rooms, the empty plates, the long days of uncertainty. Those memories stayed close to his heart. He used his films to speak for people who felt unseen. He showed the beauty and sadness of ordinary life. He showed that kindness could exist even in a harsh world. By the time Charlie became known around the world, he was no longer just a performer. He was a storyteller, a symbol, a voice for those who had none. But the journey was far from over. Fame brought new challenges. Success brought pressure. And the world was changing fast. By the time Charlie Chaplin became famous, the world had begun to recognize his face everywhere. Movie theaters filled with people eager to laugh. Children copied his walk. Adults talked about his films long after they ended. His little character, dressed in worn clothes with a gentle smile, had become a symbol of hope. But behind the laughter, Charlie's life was becoming more complicated. Success came fast, and with it came pressure. Charlie did not want to make simple jokes. He wanted his films to mean something. He wanted them to reflect real life, just like the life he had lived as a child. Poverty, loneliness, love, and dignity were not ideas to him. They were memories. Charlie worked long hours. He often repeated scenes again and again until they felt right. Some people thought he was difficult. Others thought he was a genius. Charlie did not care much about opinions. He cared about the work. As the world changed, so did movies. Sound was introduced. Many silent film actors struggled. Their voices did not match their screen presence. Their magic faded. Charlie refused to rush. He believed silence was powerful. He believed movement and expression could speak louder than words. When others embraced sound quickly, Charlie stayed true to his style. This decision was risky. Some people said his time was over, but Charlie trusted his instincts when he finally introduced sound. He did it his own way. He used music, emotion, and meaning rather than heavy dialogue. His films continued to touch hearts. One of his most powerful works showed the struggles of modern life. Machines, factories, and endless work were changing how people lived. Charlie showed how easy it was for a human being to feel small in a fast, mechanical world. People laughed, but they also felt something deeper. Charlie was not just making people laugh anymore. He was asking them to think. As his influence grew, Charlie began to speak out about injustice. He cared deeply about the poor, the hungry, and the forgotten. His own past made it impossible for him to ignore suffering. He used his fame to draw attention to issues many preferred to avoid. Not everyone liked this. Some powerful voices felt threatened. Some newspapers criticized him. Some accused him of beliefs they did not like. Charlie found himself under constant attention, not just for his work, but for his opinions and personal life. The country that once welcomed him began to feel cold. Charlie was watched closely. Rumors spread. Accusations followed him. Even when there was no proof, suspicion remained. Fame no longer felt safe. Eventually, Charlie made a decision that changed his life again. He left the country he had helped entertain for so many years. It was not an easy goodbye. He had built his career there. He had poured his heart into his work, but sometimes, even legends must walk away. Charlie settled in a quieter place. He lived with his family, surrounded by nature. The noise of the spotlight faded. The pace of life slowed. For the first time in many years, Charlie had space to reflect. He thought about his journey. The hungry child in London. The frightened boy on stage. The performer who made millions laugh. The artist who challenged the world. Time passed. The world began to see Charlie differently again. People revisited his films. They saw their depth. They saw their kindness. They saw how much humanity lived inside each scene. Eventually, the world reached out to him once more. He was invited back to receive recognition for his lifetime of work. When Charlie returned, the response was overwhelming. Applause filled the room. It lasted long and strong. In that moment, everything came full circle. The boy who once slept hungry was now honored by the world. Not just for making people laugh, but for reminding them to care. Charlie Chaplin passed away peacefully, leaving behind something far greater than fame. He left stories that continue to speak without words. He left laughter mixed with truth. He left proof that hardship does not have to harden the heart. His life reminds us that where you start does not decide where you finish. Pain can become art. Struggle can become strength. And even the quietest person can change the world. Charlie Chaplin was more than a legend. He was a mirror. When we watch him, we see ourselves. I share stories like this every day. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one.